to welcome you all to the Kiya Amajoy Show. Today, we have Mohammed SV here with us today. He has the latest groundbreaking software called RTILA, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about it. But prior to him telling us about it, I just wanted to start off. Typically, during an episode, I kind of wait until the very end and kind of blow bubbles. But I wanted to kind of start off in the very beginning and blow some bubbles because I feel like, in this day and time, we all go do whatever we go do on our end. But I think every now and then you got to kind of break the ice, lighten the mood and kind of, blow some bubbles to kind of get your spirits uplifted. And I just wanted to get your take on that, Mohammed. How do you feel about the whole blowing bubbles concept here?
I think it's nice, and I mean, it's both like a figurative and a real blowing of bubble, like you say, breaking the ice when two people meet. So I'm happy, I'm honored that you host me in this episode or this show. And I think bubbles are very expressive of what we are as humans. We are just bubbles separated from a whole unity. So I find it interesting as an example. So thank you for blowing and pushing up the bubbles.
What made you want to come up with the idea as far as for RTILA?
So I was always interested in software, digital stuff, the web, and I've been doing e-commerce since I was 17, 18 years old back in France. So I'm born in France, so I grew up and I studied in France. But I was not so interested in computer science at that time. I was studying sports, physical education to be a teacher or a sports coach. But then I got into a bike accident. And then, by the nature of things, then the only thing I could do is use my hands and my eyes and my head. And I thought the human body is such a fragile thing that if I only rely on my physical strength or whatever you can call it, it doesn't look very reliable. So I thought I'd develop some kind of digital skills. And at that time, it was the bubble, especially in the US, I think 2001, the bubble of all these startups coming up and stuff. So I started to get interested in that. And then after a couple of years, I realized that people who were gaining tracks, like the startups that were successful or the businesses that were successful, were those who were able to automate. Because instead of hiring 10 people and we're fighting with the same budgets, they build bots and they put all their money in the marketing or somewhere else, much more valuable. And then they hire different kind of skills that can just keep on accelerating. And, it's like a snowball. At the end of the year, they're like 10 miles ahead of you. Back in Europe, we are always like, I would say the Western Europe is like 5 years behind the US in terms of technology and development and the time it reaches the market. Because I took English and I like the English language, I was able to see what's going on in the US. And then I look at what's going on in France and say, hey, I have to learn this thing. So that's where the interest came from, because I saw that people were more competitive than us because they were using automation. So at that time, automation was purely a programming language skill. You have to be a developer. So I would have to make enough money to pay developers either in JavaScript, Node.js, or Python, and develop these scripts. And then the scripts, they fail very quickly. And so it's very costly. And for small startups or small entrepreneurs that do not have so much cash, it was really painful to build an automation asset, let's say. And then as I was doing research on what kind of software could make it easier for business people to implement automation in their business model and their business ideas. So I tried all the softwares that have been available in the last few years. And in that experiment, I met Tariq, my partner. It was at the very early stage of the software version of RTILA. We had a discussion and so on. And then it didn't click at that time. And then I tried to find other solutions. And then we came back again together. And then I really put my hand on RTILA, and then I run the first automations that I had been running with other tools, and they were failing. Then I run it, and I said, "Oh, wait, there's something here. It's actually working."
So it didn't click at the time. What wasn't clicking about it?
What put me off was the user interface. At that time, I didn't get it, And then also, I was a bit intimidated by some options that are very powerful, but also intimidating, because with RTILA, you have a little bit, not the best of both sides, but a little bit of both sides. You have the power and the granularity of going into those nitty things and unlocking automations that cannot be unlocked with others. It has a bit of a learning curve. and we are trying to reduce those edges so that everybody can benefit from the power without suffering the user interface. So we've done a lot of progress in the last 1 year, especially with the version 6. So the version 6 now is stable, fast, powerful. It's a monster that now has some handles that are that can be manipulated. And also we're creating a lot of content. We're about to launch a full e-learning program with courses, because there is an underlying knowledge that you need to have before you come into using the software. You need a minimum of understanding of CSS, HTML, even if you're a businessman. And that was intimidating for me at the beginning. So we're going to share this experience even for non-developers on those basics, understanding the logic, and then how you implement it in RTILA. So you need both. You need that mechanical understanding, and then that helps you to understand how to use the tool. So I would say now we have reached that maturity level, and we've been working very hard. We've been pushing a lot of new features, and I think now we have extended the range of possibilities with RTILA, and we can see in the last couple of months or last year we have business owners that are marketing agencies, that are entrepreneurs who want to launch a business.
I'm always looking for something that's going to be cost effective without having to do too much, leg and arm work on my end. So that's definitely much needed.
Okay.
Coming with the background knowledge of CSS and HTML, how long would it take for somebody to really kind of have that background knowledge? Like, how much time they had to put into it?
It was very hard for my brain to understand mathematics and logic and programming language. Some people get it faster, but I'm of the slow group. So it took me 6 months. And the reason why it took me 6 months is because most of the content that is available about automation and CSS is written by developers for developers. So I couldn't even get the concept. Like, for example, I wanted to understand what is a loop. And then if a programmer explains me a loop, I still don't get it. Like it makes perfect sense for them with 2 sentences between novice developers. But even just understanding what is a loop was very hard for me. So now that as a slow programming brain, I went through that struggle with the team. We have built tutorials and e-learning courses that can kind of translate that language of programming into business people mind or just normal mind to explain those basics. So what is a loop? What is cascading style CSS? What is it? What does it mean? It's a language. So because it's a language, it has a syntax, it has markers, and this is the grammar rules of this language. And you can use this language in this way, but not in this way. So now we have those basics to explain, and so that it now makes sense for you as a businessman or businesswoman. And actually, it's not that difficult, because once we solve this translation, we are all talking about the same thing. We're talking about there is this data set that is here, and I want it there, and I want it transformed in this way or that way. So at the end, we all speak about the same thing. So that's the uniting part is, this is what I want to do with the data. This is where it is. I need to log in. I need to get it here. It's a date, but I want to transform it into this format. And then I want to use ChatGPT to, I don't know, find what's the weather or, and then I want this data to go there. And then I want to shoot an email to this guy, and I want to add him on my Facebook. So that's the business process. Now we can lay down the business process and translate it into an RTILA flow.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. At the beginning, we started to do tutorials about RTILA, how to use it, but we very quickly noticed that it was not enough, because people do not have the background and the context and the underlying knowledge. So now we stepped back, we said, let's do a full curriculum about CSS, HTML, plus the concept of automation. And this is how you do it with RTILA. So even if you don't use RTILA, there are many tools. We're not here to say that there's only RTILA. There are many great tools, but at least when you come and try RTILA, you're going to get both. You're going to understand the concept, and if you wish to use something else, no problem. And if you want to know how to use it with RTILA, then there is the contextualized hands-on tutorial. 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to launch the e-learning platform. But we have already a lot of people doing a lot of progress right now. Sometimes you're surprised by your own community on how smart they are and how they find ways to create value. And the return on investment is amazing, Kiya. You said that I want to know that if I spend time, that I'm going to get back my return on investment. And that's exactly what kind of hit me, about last year, that anyone who's going to spend time on learning a new tool, we need to make sure that they're going to get the return on investment. So that's what we are doing. We're providing that. We're working hard. We assist people until you get your return on investment.
So true. And I was going to say thank you for being honest about the fact that it took you a while to really get into the programming brain. Because I mean, I'm sure when you said you were doing e-commerce when you were young, as far as when you were even 16, I'm sure it did take a lot of work. But at least you had a learning curve in trying to understand that portion of it, so that it could better help you as far as building the program itself. But so we can just get right into it. Do you want to go ahead and show us a project in RTILA, just so we can try to show the audience?
Yes, of course. A person like you could start to master RTILA up to 50% of its power with 20 hours of time. Okay. So 20 hours will get you in there. Already you create value. But if you spend about 100 hours as a non-developer, you're going to start to do a bit of magic.
Well, I mean, it's an investment, and I mean, I don't want to do something halfway. So I really want to, get deep into it and really do it the right way. So I'm willing to put the time into it, as well as I'm sure the other people who would want to put the time into it as well. But do you have the project that you want to share with us so we can kind of take a look at it?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to show you this little example. So here, I have another window open where I'm going to delete this data that I initially wanted here. I think you see the data is being deleted right here.
Yes, I do. Under videos,
yeah. So let's say your project is that you have a list of URLs, profiles, whatever, clients, and then you need to get some additional data about them that is based on the web. And then you can basically use this Google Sheet as a CRM tool or as a lead management tool. And then RTILA can come here, and depending on the status that is right here, you see the status done.
Yeah.
It will take different actions. So for example, right now, I'm going to convert it into to do, because I want RTILA to come here. And for all the rows that have to do, I want it to go and grab the URL of column D, and then go to that URL, that YouTube channel, and get me the number of subscribers and the number of videos that they have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way you do it is that, yes. So you can already see that this brings value, because I want to go grab data, and then I have a plan on what I'm going to do with this data. So we have what we call commands. So right now, you see, you can switch panels here in the top. We have what we call the inspection panel that deals with data. So I can create properties and save data. And we have what we call the automation panel. The automation panel is where you throw in your commands, and then you have like a vertical cascading flow logic. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first command I use is called the Google Sheet command. And basically, you just go and configure the Google Sheet. You put your Google Sheet URL. And we have this Google Sheet has a free version and a paid version. So if you have the Prime RTILA key, you put it here, it will unlock faster automations and more capacity. But otherwise, it can work without the RTILA key, Prime key. And then I tell it which sheet I want to automate. And right now, I'm getting the data. So if I reload this to see it. So what I'm telling to RTILA here is that I want to go on column A and column B.
Okay.
Yeah. And the operator is AND. So for every row that has to do in column A and urgent in column B, which is in our case, the 3 lines, yeah, they have this. So I tell RTILA, go and get me the data that is in column C and column D right here. So it will find all the results and get me C, which is the channel name, and D, which is the URL of the YouTube channel. And now what it will do is that it will save this data inside this command. So this command is called Google Sheets read URLs from sheet, yeah? And then I'm going to feed this data into my list. The list is like a loop that can go through different lines of data to feed that data to some commands. And the syntax is that you do open bracket, you put your command name that has the data, and you close bracket, and then the delimiter is a column. So we have courses about this. I'm just like running you through about the concept, yeah? And then here I do an alert. An alert will just pop up and show some data in a small window, because I just want to double check what we are getting from the Google Sheet. So again, I do alert, and then I use my syntax, open bracket, to show what is contained in this command. Yeah. So once I know that the data is coming up, I'm just waiting like few seconds, 3 seconds, and then I use the command called go to URL. So go to URL, you could put here https google.com manually. So you can put a URL manually, or you can put a URL dynamically from a variable. And because I transferred the variable from Google Sheets into the list, now my data is inside the list. And my list has 2 columns. It has column C and column D, right?
Right.
So the URL is in column D, which is technically the second column. So that's why I'm using here list column 1. But you know, in CSV, column 1 is the second column. So it's a little bit counterintuitive, but this is how it works. The first column is called column 0. The second column is called 1. So the second column has the URL. Therefore, I'm calling list column 1. So this is how it works, how you move data from one command to another. And this is what we're going to do the trainings about so that people can understand it, even though right now I'm going fast. But now I'm feeding the current URL of the current row to the go to URL. So it will load that URL, that YouTube channel. And let me give you an example here. So let's say we go to the first URL, which is this movies. Okay, so you see here, it's the, it's I'm on the channel, and I want to grab this, the subscribers, and also how many videos, 20K videos. So what I do is that I use what we call a DOM selector command that will go and grab, you see this CSS selector?
Yeah.
That's what we want the training about. So you can either click and point, or you can use a proper CSS selector that is very resilient. But you can see here it's highlighting 255 M subscribers, yeah? So that means that it's going to catch that data for us. And then I did another DOM selector, and I told it to get this selector, which is the number of videos. So you see these two variables, they're getting data from the website. And then what I do is that I call again my Google Sheet command, and I want to write these 2 current data into our other columns, which is, I go back into the Google Sheet. I need to write them into column E and column F of the current row. So that's what we are doing. So I go back, I say this time, what I want to do is that I want to update the data because the cell already exists. And I want to update the data. And I want to update the data of the current URL that is in column D. The current URL is T-series. So it will go back, find T-series, and then it will come here and say, update the column A to done. So it will change from to do to done. And then it will, I am writing the number of subscribers here into column E, which will be here. And I'm writing the number of videos into column F. So once you get the logic, then you can use this template and replace with your own columns and your own titles, you know. And let's, shall I give it a try and we look at it? Or do you want some more details?
You can give it a try. I want to see it populate the subscribers in the video. I know you're, yeah, so you can.
So let's go ahead. So now I'm going to run it here.
Okay.
So it's empty at the moment. So now I'm hands-free. Yeah. RTILA is taking over. It launched the browser. It loads this first one, and now it's actually in the background. It's checking the Google Sheet to find all the ones that have to do and urgent. And then once it finds them, it gives me the result. You see, here is the results.
Okay.
So it went one round already, and it opened the website, and you can see here it updated to done. And 255 million subscribers and 20,000 videos. Yeah, you see it, yeah?
Yeah.
So now it should go to the second round. And it's visiting Mr. Beast because that's the next available line of data. And now it's going to get Mr. Beast number of subscribers and number of videos, put them in those 2 DOM commands that I showed you. Then it will go back and write into the Google Sheet and then reload the Google Sheet for us. So it will close this page. I put a close command to close the page, and now you see it's done. It's done for Mr. Beast, and we got the data from Mr. Beast. We still have one line that corresponds to our criteria, which is to do and urgent. We still have one line, so it's still going to go and process it. So now it's CocoMelon. Yeah. So it's opening CocoMelon. It's going to get us that data that we want, and normally it will close CocoMelon and then close the project because it has done finished doing the job.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It takes a few seconds. It's always good to add time because sometimes internet is slow. My Google Sheet is completely updated and all the statuses has been changed to done. But now if you come and you add new URLs, when RTILA will on schedule, RTILA can run on schedule every 5 minutes, every 1 hour, whatever you want. So when RTILA comes back and finds new lines that have to do and urgent, it will process it.
Okay.
So you can have a team that works with the bots at the same time to populate data, or you could have a Zapier or another software or another automation that comes and does something somewhere else and comes and write a new line for RTILA to come and process it.
Thank you for showing that, showing the step by step, so that you can kind of get the people's ideas kind of going for what they may feel like they have a need to use it for.
And also like to calculate, because you're going to spend time learning how to do this, and then you're going to spend time to build each automation. So let's say now the learning is an investment. Your learning time is an investment. Now, let's say you're proficient. So this automation, if I don't need to explain it, I can do it in about half an hour as a business person. It's going to save me probably 4 hours of work per day.
Wow.
Yeah, because now I can let RTILA do this 1,000 URLs. I can feed 1,000 URLs per day. It will process them like butter, like peanut butter. So let's say my objective was to find the top 100 YouTube channels that have the biggest number of videos and followers. Yeah. Then I can do a second automation that can build the conditional logic. If the number of subscribers is higher than 100 million, then go and find the email, get the email, put it in column G. Now I have the email. And then I do another automation that comes and say, if I find an email in column G, then I'm going to go and use the channel name, use ChatGPT and create a custom message so that I know that I'm going to shoot this custom message to this email so that none of my email look the same. They are very customized to my clients. Yeah. And then after I shoot the email, all this with RTILA, because we have email sending commands. So I'm not going out of RTILA. I don't have to spend money somewhere else. I can just feed the data in my Google Sheet or a CSV. And then I just keep having RTILA coming up, a different RTILA bot doing a different work as soon as the data that triggers that bot is available. So I can go on, like I can find the email. Before I shoot an email, I can use that email and use an API or a website to verify if the email is actually correct. I don't want to shoot an email to an email that was not verified. So I verify the email and then I get the status. So once the next bot sees that there is an email address and the status is reachable, then it will create the ChatGPT message and then it will send the email. Yeah. And then let's say, and then you can basically open up a marketing agency because you can create a lead management column by column. And like you can make rules that go and find Kiya Facebook, follow his channel, add him, send him a message in Facebook. If he doesn't reply in 2 days, shoot him an email. So I can build the whole logic of how I want to reach out to my target crowd. And there is another interesting thing is that, when you're building marketing, and sometimes when you have access to a tool, it's almost like you have access to a new weapon. So you may be tempted to just shoot every bird that flies by, like a machine gun, and you just shoot in all directions. So that there's the same effect when you have a powerful tool. So also we try to also show to people, look, it's not because you can automate and scrape the whole web that you have to do it. Like be intelligent, like be mindful and be like targeted. So what we're also promoting and more showing is that I think what makes sense for us and uses our resources for the maximum effect is that not only you want to target somebody that has expressed an intent about your keywords, but also you want to reach him or her in the first 1 hour when they express the intent. Because if you're the first one to reach that person who said, I'm interested in chocolate, you're the most likely person to sell that chocolate to that person because you have the right timing, the right message, and you're not missing somebody already reached out to them and now they're fed up. So that's where you can use RTILA. You can become that sniper guy that as soon as somebody manifests an intent about something, an interest about something, you reach out to them. You shoot an RTILA bot that will find them on social media, message them gently, send them an email in that 1 hour that they commented on a LinkedIn post, for example. So I can build an automation that looks at a few influencers on any platform. And as soon, because I know that influencers communicates about my field. So if people follow that influencer and react, that means they're interested in that theme, be it real estate, whatever. And what I'm saying here is that now I know where to find the intent, where people are interested in that. Now I do an RTILA bot that checks that page or that blog or that channel every 5 minutes, say every 10 minutes. And every time there is a new comment about a new post, it will start that chain of automation. Maybe I only send 100 outreach, but those 100 are super targeted. Instead of sending 10,000 emails, just, and I'm not sure how much result they're going to give us. So that's the power of RTILA, but that's also the maturity of the entrepreneur mind. So together you can really make some beautiful stuff.
I thank you so much for the demonstration you just showed us. I've been kind of relatively quiet because I'm taking it all in and trying to have my own ideas on how I want to plan to use it. And I hope, as well as the rest of the audience have their own ideas on how they want to use it too. But it's something that I know that for sure you're going to have to kind of put the time into it to kind of really understand, CSS and HTML and things of that nature. But once, you put your time into it and kind of play around with it as far as how much like thought process of whatever kind of projects we want to do. Like on my end, it could be like, sending out emails and things like that. But I'm sure other people have other ways that they could go about using it as well. It could really be something I feel like could be a really powerful tool to use. Cause automation is in nowadays. We don't want to take the time to have to waste a whole 4 hours when we could be doing it on other things. We really want to do whatever is really conducive to business. So I thank you for making RTILA and doing something that I feel like is really definitely something that we need in this day and time. Like, anything that makes the work easy for us is what we need. Work smarter, not harder.
That's the best advice I think we can give to entrepreneurs. If you have the flow clear in your mind, please come.
That's it.
We will definitely be able to help you pull it off.
But people in the audience as well as myself definitely look forward to using RTILA and putting the time into it, and we know who to reach out to if we have any questions or concerns, because all of that's listed on this on the support for the application. So thank you so much for your time today, Mohammed, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you in the near future so we can kind of follow up and see how it's working out and all of that.
Yeah, with pleasure, and looking forward to it. And Kiya, thank you again for hosting this and inviting me in. I'm looking forward to our next interaction.
Yes. All right, so thank you all for tuning into the Kiya Amjoy Show. We'll see you again soon.